You're listening to 1069 Click FM, live in color.
I knew that would bite me in the end. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to separate that out. Anyway, like I said, I knew this day was going to be interesting because I let my, hang on, I have to pull this over for demonstration purposes. I let this graceful little creature who is currently licking her butt on the internet for all to see, wake me up at 3 a.m. this morning for food. And this time I stayed awake because I made a promise that I would watch the Ashes. And I made it through 90 minutes of the Ashes before I fell asleep. So I did not get to see the entire innings that England went through. But I have to admit, for what I was able to watch, a lot more things make sense to me about cricket right now. And I'm going to get to that in a little bit. But first, I'd like to ask you all a question. Would it be hyperbole to say that the Los Angeles Angels are a dark horse to make the playoffs in Major League Baseball? Because from what I saw of the game last night, I think if they get the bat support from people who aren't named Ohtani or Trout, that's going to keep them at a lot of games, but their bullpen makes me a bit nervous. That may be just me, but hopefully not, at least for their sake. So maybe we could see some playoff Ohtani and Trout. That would be a lot of fun. Yeah. Also, yeah. I'm just confused. I don't know what's going on. Pittsburgh and Milwaukee still fighting it out for the NL Central. It just seems like it's going to be it's still back and forth through this whole season. I cannot believe it. Has when Tom went to Pittsburgh, did he bring a certain parka with him? Because that's the only thing that I can think of. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. You know? Oh, yes, I did. I did. Thank you very much for that, Luke. And actually, that was a great help in helping me put together a couple of things later on. Now, I know what I'm going to be talking about later on may feel pretty bare bones, but there's a bit of a difference between just reading about how a Spart works and then seeing it in action. You know, like think back to the first time that any of you started really getting interested in a sport, and you understood the general idea behind the gameplay, either, throw, kick, ball, run, touchdown, yay, or kick ball through uprights, hurrah. You got the basics, but then it got to things like offsides and holding and formations and different positions. And you're just like, I don't understand what the hell any of that means. It didn't really interfere, but it was kind of like a barrier, Some people get past those barriers, others don't. And some can't even, pick up the basics because it just seems so intimidating. Yeah, Kung Fu remembers learning what a first down was. Yeah. As soon as I figured out the difference between offsides and a neutral zone infraction, I felt like I had kind of leveled up, honestly. So, I think the most important thing I could say about my experience of those 90 minutes of watching the Ashes before I fell asleep again was that I got to see some things put into action, and they made the basics of it stick a little bit more. And it's like, oh, so that, and then, all right. I think I understand where they're coming from. And I'd like to share the notes that I have made about my experience, about how I as an American understand cricket after seeing 90 minutes of the Ashes. Okay, so cricket. This odd mix of bowling, baseball, tag, and a deep-seated fear of dirtying up one's nice pants. All right. So we're going to get started with this. Imagine a circle. Imagine a little line in the middle of the circle. If you saw it elsewhere, it would look like one of those SAT math problems that you weren't allowed to use a calculator for. But instead, circle, line in the middle. At each end of the circle are these two little things called wickets. What the hell is a wicket? It's 3 vertical sticks stuck in the ground, 2 smaller pieces of wood balanced on top. The bowlers are trying to hit the wicket. The batters are trying to keep the wicket from getting hit. Now, you have... No, it's not the same as a croquet wicket. These, like I said, are just like, it's not a continuous piece of metal. It's 3 sticks and 2 little pieces on top. The reason they shape it like that is because the bowlers are trying to hit the wicket. And if they see a little bit of movement from those couple of pieces at the top, then it's a good indicator that the ball hit the wicket. It's kind of a referee's aid, in a way. One of the many things that they have to be looking out for. Actually, Luke, I don't want you to fact check me at all. I want you to allow me to just trip over my own dick whenever possible. So let me fail, and I want to see how I do at the end. And if anybody has questions, keep throwing them out. All right. There are 2 batters and two bowlers on the field at once. The batters are on the same team, and the bowlers are on the same team. All right. A batter can stay on the field and keep batting as long as they protect the wicket from being hit and score runs. How can a batter be called out? Well, actually, first we'll start with how do they score runs? Well, you got a bowler who's going to throw the ball at the batter, and he'll just try to, in a direction, ideally, where there isn't a fielder. They'll be like scattered behind or off to the sides at certain distances, trying to prevent the ball from leaving play or catch it or make a defensive play. Right? Yes, the fingermen. So, if the batter manages to hit the ball, then both batters, if they think they can make it, run to the other wicket on the other side. And if they get there before one of the fielders can throw the ball back and hit the wicket, that scores a run. You see what I said? It's this odd mix of bowling, baseball, and tag. And the wicket, there's this little area where the wicket is that is home base for the runners. Like I said, it's crazy, but as you watch it, it kind of starts to make sense. Now, if they cross once, that's a run. If they're able to get across and back, that's 2 runs. So you could maybe go for 3 if you really felt crazy like it, but honestly, if you hit the ball out of the field of play, you automatically get 4 runs. And if you hit it out of play without it touching the ground, you get 6. So yeah. If you hit a hard grounder that skips out of the boundary and out of play, 4 runs. If it's a dinger, 6. I know, math, weird. All right, now, how can a batter be called out? Because that's the thing. The batter can stay and keep batting as long as they keep making hits, scoring runs, and protecting the wicket. If the fielder catches it if gets hit in the air, fielder catches it, batter's out. They are done for that innings. And yes, I'm using the plural innings. It is the same thing as the inning in baseball. English is a crazy language. So a batter can be called out if they hit a pop-up or line drive that is caught out of the air by one of the fielders. If the bowler, get our finger people back, if the bowler manages to throw the ball, and it hits the wicket, then the batter is out. No strikes, no second chance. They get the wicket, it's out. And that is a pretty rare occurrence, which is why they celebrate it so hard when it happens. Let's see what are the other ways. Oh yes. Say the batter hits a grounder and it goes out. A fielder quickly grabs it though and manages to throw it and hit one of the wickets before the runners can get there, that's an out. Well, I will actually contribute to this. Right now, in the Ashes, they just ended day one is over of the first test, which is the match between them. Out of 5. Current score is 393 to 14, essentially. Australia is trailing by 379 runs. Now, to give you an idea of the range, I hope you have a great weekend too, True North. I'm sorry that your internet is crapping out on you. The infamous match that led to the name Ashes being coined for the series, the one where Australia beat England in England, it was a very, very low-scoring affair. I don't believe either team got over 100 runs in the whole thing. So, like I said, Luke, don't correct me. Just let me trip over my own dick. I do appreciate it. Oh, another way that a batter can get out is if the ball gets hit to a guy called the wicket keeper, who is this just one dude in the back behind the batter, and he appears to be the only one that's actually allowed to wear a glove, is able to catch it and run up and just hit the wicket. That's considered a stump, and that is an out. And then my favorite way to get out, if the ball is thrown in a place that could have been hit, it's a hittable ball, and the batter does not hit it, and it just hits them. If the umpire thinks that ball would have hit the wicket, that is leg before wicket, and that batter is out. Yes, exactly. All right. So, if you've ever heard people talk about cricket, you might have heard them say that people had a certain number of overs. Okay, I will explain quickly what that means. Now, so we got the bowler here. You got the batter. Let's say they make 1, 2, 3 hittable, completely hittable, on-target throws that, don't really do anything for the batter. After another 3 of those, that is called an over. 6 hittable pitches that were aimed for the wicket, and then the bowlers get to switch sides, and now the other bowler can go up against that batter. So, say for example, there are 2 different bowlers on the field. Like, one is more like a Nolan Ryan style fastball machine, and the other one is like the Shohei Ohtani curveball show and spectacular. You could end up switching them out to try to use different You could end up switching them out and taking advantage of different bowling styles to get the batters out, which I think is really kind of cool. And the bowlers can score too, by the way. Every wicket that they get, every out, is a point for their team. And that is all I have got for how much I understand of cricket so far, after 90 minutes of watching the Ashes. Oh. goes over the wickets or misses completely? That is a good question, Luke. What does happen in that case? I will say this, however, and this is not to knock on the commentary job that the announcers were doing. Wicketkeeper takes the ball, no run is scored. Cool. But when I was doing the streams for the NCAA tournament this year, for the men's tournament and the women's tournament, I admit that I enjoyed the women's broadcasts so much more. And that was because the commentators were so good at, weaving in just, the basics into their analysis and in such a way that it could, let me understand little intricacies of the game or things about, positions or, terms for the court that, I had never learned before. And then the men's side, it was more about like the personality, the stories, the big melodramas and things. And they get into some skill stuff too, but it feels a lot more inscrutable. Felt a lot more inscrutable. Kind of like they already assume you should know more than you think you do. If cricket had manager ejections and home run celebrations, you'd be a little more invested. Yeah, honestly, I think the closest I could say to the enthusiasm of a home run celebration was were the couple of wickets that I remember seeing Australia get. That was just instant, everybody pumping their hands in the air out in the field. Not in the stands, of course, because they're playing in England and they are trying to get the Ashes back, I believe. And I would not be surprised, honestly, if even with, the long-standing British tradition of not wanting to cause a fuss, that there hadn't been, I would be surprised that there hadn't been manager ejections in cricket at some point. Everybody is, athletes can be fiercely competitive, and, their emotions can get the better of them. Happens all the time. Happened last night for the Texas Rangers. They lost one of their players and a couple of their coaches. So yeah, I gotta imagine that they happen. Well, maybe they don't like to talk about that too much. I did notice also while I was sailing the seven seas looking for, the channel that this was on, there are also a number of African national teams that are playing this week. And no, it was just I was just not aware that was a thing. It's very cool. What if in baseball, when a foul ball is played by fielders, mishandled drop, what if the runners were to try to advance bases? I think, honestly, I think that would just lead to too many players trying to bait runners into running by letting the ball drop and trying to psych them out. I just could see that getting kind of weird. By the way, big thank you to our sponsor for today's Ass Talk, Green River Soda, which I guarantee does taste like a green river. Oh, my. Yeah, there is the strike three throw the first thing. There is that. But that's usually I always looked at that as a thing for the batter to take advantage of, you know, a good opportunity for a mistake by the catcher. That's how I always saw it. I never thought of it as something that could be particularly manipulated. Besides, from my hard year of playing catcher on a community baseball team, yeah, I do not envy the job that catchers have. Not one bit. Not at all. I don't know. Maybe it was the fact that, you know, we're using older equipment, but just the combination of all the padding and the helmet and that weirdo thick glove that I could never get the hang of using. All right, so I guess we've veered into story time. The absolute worst part of it was I was supposed to be the first baseman for that team. There was another guy in the neighborhood I grew up with who was supposed to be the catcher. The thing was, his dad was one of the coaches, and he developed this curious habit of somehow always having something to do before the game, which ran long, and he wouldn't be able to get there until the third inning. So, game's getting close to started, and dude hasn't showed up yet, and I get put at catcher. Because I did it once during practice, and I managed to not get hit with the bat on the backswing. That was it. And I was not a good catcher for that team. I frequently dropped balls. I got plowed, stepped on, hit in the junk regularly. The cup didn't help. I'm telling you now, the cup didn't help. I got a toenail broken from when a dude stepped on my foot. And yeah, and I was wearing cleats. He was wearing cleats too. He just had much more weight on his cleats to give. And after a summer of the most uncomfortable and painful and just like humiliating losses, like we never won. We never ever won a game. And I'm pretty sure I am a contributor to that because they could rack up so many stolen bases on us. Yeah. I knew for sure that I was not going to be a baseball player. Oh. Oh, outfield is good, man. You could just hang out, check out the clouds, you know, look for bugs, pick at the grass. Maybe if you're lucky, sneak your headphones out there, listen to a little music on your Walkman, maybe. Not saying that I ever did that, but, you know, it was something you could try. Just saying. I'm just saying. Or a boombox if we want to be old, but the only requirement if you're gonna bring the boombox, Chord Man, is that it has to be playing "Fight the Power" by Public Enemy. That is the only song you're allowed to play on it. I guess this should be a good time to slide in the mention that I'm still taking requests for the upcoming streaming show this weekend. We've gotten a good amount so far. I thank you all for the ones you've put in already, folks. But I can always use more. No, Rocky music is good too, man. That theme can really get people going. I don't know about the parachute pants. I don't think Public Enemy was really about that, unless you mean like the more militaristic jumpsuit style that the backup and background flavor dudes wore for them. You know, leave the parachute pants to Mr. Hammer. He pulled them off better than I think most of us ever would. Wow, this really... I remember when this was a sports show. That is very true, Corn Man. It does depend on whether you're doing the 80s or 90s, and there is that weird period where we couldn't tell which was which. You know what? I think that's I'm serious. That is definitely my cue to wrap this damn thing up, because I'm still getting caught back up into the world of baseball, and I need to take a closer look at a couple of teams like the LA Dodgers, and I'm a little concerned about them. If I were a Dodgers fan, I'd be very concerned. Yeah, it was a sports show until basketball and football ended. That's why I say, Cord Man, we only have 44 days left until the true NFL preseason fervor begins again. I think we can make it, because we're also going to have the NHL drafts, the NBA drafts, the possibility of Chicago Blackhawks not taking Connor Bedard, something we can all laugh at for generations, you know? The possibility of the A's going on a winning streak, and who the hell knows? You know? There's room for all sorts of possible nonsense. Maybe we'll see another few familiar additions to the New York Packers as it comes along. See, we've still got a lot that we can take in and we can be entertained by. So, I just say for right now, relax. Be at peace. Football will be back soon enough. In the meantime, we could see if Tom Grossi ends up getting a tattoo of a potato with a mustache. Just hoping. Are the Blackhawks the Packers of hockey? No, Corn Man. The Blackhawks are the Blackhawks are the Penn State of hockey. And I will simply leave it at that. I would like to thank you all for tuning in this afternoon to Ask Talk. I'm glad I am back here doing this again. I'm so glad everybody showed up, talked, contributed. Thank you so very much for being here. I'm going to be live again on Sunday for some more Major League Baseball. Bingo incoming. I'm going to drop the cricket bingo card that Luke made for me tonight on a public Patreon post. Take care, everybody. This is Jim B on 106.9 Click FM. Good night, Milwaukee, wherever you are.